Are you unsure about the condition of your brake fluid? You're not sure via visual look and you need some sort of further measurement. Well, there is the perfect tool that you can use to test the moisture levels in your brake fluid. This is really important because brake fluid is hygroscopic. So it's got alcohol inside it and it absorbs moisture from the air. And actually, that effectively means you have water in your brake fluid. Now, I've seen some pretty dirty brake fluid in my time. The brake fluid that was in Beatrix, if you remember seeing some of the early videos, it was an orangey brown, and that's really bad. Even though the brakes worked, but how effective is the brake fluid when it gets to that stage? Well, effectively, the boiling point is actually reduced for the brake fluid, so there's a chance that the brake fluid could get really hot and boil over. It's not really something that can happen unless it's a really severe case, but if you continue driving the car with brake fluid like that and under a certain circumstance, that may well happen, but again, it's quite rare. But ideally, you want the moisture levels below 2%, and that's roughly where you need it to be. Now, the way of testing is by using this. It is a brake fluid tester pen, and I'll just show you this. Okay, that is the pen. Okay, it comes with two electrodes there. Okay, this is the test at the one end. Okay, you've got these electrodes, and basically you've got this gauge, and it will show you going from 0% to 4% whether your brake fluid needs changing. If obviously fresh brake fluid, that should be on green. If when you put this in the brake fluid it shows 1 or 2%, it's okay. It's got some moisture in it, but it's probably relatively new fluid, probably a couple of years old, no problem. But if it's 3 or 4%, it needs to be changed. Another point is that brake fluid contains corrosion inhibitors when it is fresh out the bottle, but they don't last particularly long. They're just designed to keep corrosion internally from inside your pipe works. But the more important factor is the boiling point, which usually it's lowered to around, I think it's about 140 degrees. That's where it kind of lowers to. But the point is, if it boils over under hard braking, you will get air in the hydraulic system around the calipers, and that obviously means that there's less pressure going to the brakes and your foot is going to go down further. So that is really, really bad. So really important that the usual boiling point of DOT3 and DOT4 brake fluid in particular is around 200 degrees. I'm pretty sure it's around that. So that would be quite a drop, and I've been told that it can drop as low as 130 degrees when the brake fluid is just old. I may, as well as boiling over fluid, which is, again, as I said, very rare, the other symptom you could get is internally rusting brake lines. Now, cars come with steel brake lines from the factory. It's all steel from the factory. Okay, they do not come with copper nickel lines from the factory. That would be preferable, but copper nickel is a little bit softer, and manufacturers don't really like using that stuff for some reason. But then again, steel is cheaper than copper. But in any sense, you don't want high levels of moisture in steel brake lines, because steel lines, they can usually rut from the outside, usually where they go to the wheel, go closest to the wheel. That's usually the areas where they tend to rot out a little bit. In certain cars, Focus Mark 1s have a problem where they rot above the tank, which is not a place where water can actually get to very frequently. It's actually a dusty place on the top of that tank, but they rot up there. So some sort of manufacturing defect. So they can rot in all sorts of places. They can certainly rot where they go through the clips down the alongside the fuel lines, down the car, the straight lines. They can actually rot in the clips, but you can't notice that because the bit where it's rotten is where the clip's sitting against it. What happens is water gets in and rots the brake pipe from the outside. But the other thing is it can rot from the inside because you've got too much moisture in the brake fluid. The other thing is it can start rusting your actual calipers. If it's really high, then it could start rusting them out, and that's what causes most likely the caliper piston to actually seize in the bore because of that rusting effect. So often with sticking calipers, it is because the brake fluid has actually not been changed, and that I've been told by a head mechanic at a Ford dealership. Right, so the way you test it, we just take the cap off. Okay, all we need to do, as I say, it's operated by a single AA battery, and all you do is to press the button and hold it. So let's have a look at the results when we press the button. Hello, submerge it in the fluid. 0. Great. It should be, because this is fresh fluid, completely new. It's not even showing on 1%. It's not truly accurate, but it gives you an idea of where it's at. Do it again. Yeah. Okay, no problem. Right, just give it a wipe off, and we'll try my other car. Okay, my Focus Mark 1. I remember changing the brake fluid completely last year when I renewed all the brake hoses, including the rear ones that tend to go. So we just carefully take the float out. Immediately I can see the colour of the fluid is very clear indeed. It should be clear. It should be a orange or deep brown. Deep brown's really bad. But anyway, just going to get the tester in my hand, dip it in, submerge it. Well, once again, it's reading 0, absolutely nothing. So it actually says here on the 0%, okay, that is okay. No water is detected. So no water is detected in either of my cars, which is fantastic considering the brake fluid is a year old in the Focus. 1 to 2%, okay. So that would show up as yellow. Green yellow is less than 1% water. Green yellow and another yellow, which is those two, so these would light up in yellow, that's 2%. And then obviously if it's red, it'll be 3, and then they've got the second red, that'll be 4. That's really bad. So a change of fluid is recommended. At least 4% of water is detected. Change the brake fluid. This is a wicked little tester. As I say, just a double A battery, and it will work really nicely. I've had that battery in there for years. It's Duracell battery, and it will last years, because this is not something you'll use often. Often a visual check is enough for you to ascertain that something is not quite right, so it needs to be changed. Ideally, if you know the history of the car and you know you haven't changed the fluid in a few years, then I'd recommend changing it. The recommendation for most manufacturers is 2 to 3 years, and I can understand that, because then that way you keep moisture out the system completely, and I will certainly be doing that with my cars. But these testers can give some idea of the amount of moisture in the fluid, because you can't do that via visual check. So this is a very nice tool to have. Now, the reason that brake fluid generally changes colour over time is simple. It's contaminants in the braking system. So we're talking about debris that might be around the brake calipers, anything around the master cylinder, the seals, the rubber seals. They can just, they let go slight bits of microscopic rubber. It can be easily any contaminants in the system. Not really internal rusting unless it's really bad. But if you've got brown brake fluid, that might be a sign of really bad internal rusting. But that is an extreme case. But that is the reason why brake fluid changes colour, and it changes colour quite quickly. The recommendation is to change your brake fluid every 2 to 3 years. That is generally when brake fluid probably goes from having absolutely no moisture, like both my cars, to about 3 or 4%. So that's kind of what you're looking at. And lastly, this tool is compatible with DOT3 and DOT4 braking systems. It may be compatible with DOT 5.1, but I lost the user guide to this brake tester. But I'm pretty sure it would. DOT 5.1 really is silicon-based brake fluid, and it's only really used in racing cars. It's not really meant for street vehicles in any respect, really. I suspect it can't be used with certain ABS systems, which is why it's not recommended. So if you've got a DOT 4 car, stick with DOT 4. No point going to DOT 5. But this tester, I'm pretty sure, will test all 3 of them. But if you've got a street car, you've got a DOT 3 or DOT 4 car, it will test both of them quite easily.